there's a whole spectrum of people in types of poverty, and that's what the SVP tries to alleviate. And one of our slogans is action beyond concern. The fact is, everybody says, that's so sad, I really care about that. Yeah, but what are you going to do about it?
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, the Lord be with you. Let us acknowledge our unworthiness.
This is The Parish View, a Roman Catholic community podcast. My name is Jamie Fury. On this episode, we have Beverly Searle, a president of the St. Vincent de Paul Society. Let's get into it. So, Beverly, how long have you been in the parish for?
Well, I lived in the district for over 30 years, but in the parish, coming to church here, since about 2012. So I used to live in Bletchingley, further down the road. Oh, right. And then I was going to St. Joseph's in Red Hill, and I continued to go there when my children were born. And I didn't really come to worship here until just after my daughter died in 2011.
Oh, so, sorry to hear that.
But I'll explain about her in a minute. She was a rather special young lady. Yeah. So, for about 13 years.
So have you... was you brought up a Catholic, and you always stayed with the faith, or?
Yeah. So I'm what you'd call a cradle Catholic. I've been a Catholic since birth. My mum was a cradle Catholic. My father was a convert, a very devout Catholic, once converted. The interesting thing was, he came to the faith after he met my mum, so he was only about 25. But his father had been baptised a Catholic and then drifted. And it wasn't until his father was in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, he met a priest.
Right.
And before he died in the camp, he came back to the faith.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine how powerful that was to my dad, who was just about 15 when his father died.
Yeah, yeah.
He just spiked his interest in the faith. Then he met my mum a few years later and converted, and he was probably more of a devout Catholic than my mum was, actually.
Yeah.
But so I've always had Catholicism.
I suppose that happens quite a lot, doesn't it? People that come back, they seem to just I don't know. It isn't always the case, but they always seem to just want to do more. Yeah.
Well, as I say,
what do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. Well, maybe because they've really thought it through and are determined. They've made the choice to come to the faith. If you're a cradle Catholic, the choice is sort of imposed on you.
Yeah.
And I think you go through a time of thinking about it, especially in your late teens. When I was at uni, I thought, is this right for me? But I continued to go to Mass.
Yeah.
And I've always gone to Mass when I could. It was very difficult with my daughter because she was profoundly disabled and needed 24-hour care, which I was giving at home. And it was really tough, so sometimes you wouldn't always be able to get to Mass for very sound reasons. But I've always kept my faith, though. So, and it was a huge support when I had my daughter. Absolutely huge support.
So what age was you when you had your daughter then, sorry?
Well, I was 34 when I had Jenny. I'd already got my boy, Jonathan, who's now 38.
Oh, okay.
And a doctor.
Oh, nice.
Jenny was actually our third child because we miscarried a baby in between. And we don't know whether that baby would have been a boy or a girl. It was just not possible to tell. But again, my faith was incredibly important to me, getting through that situation. I remember going down to a curate down at St. Joseph's when I'd miscarried that baby and talking through, how difficult it was. And he was a huge help. He was lovely.
Yeah.
But when Jenny was born, as I say, I was 34. And it's really weird because I kept getting signs all through my pregnancy that there was something wrong, but it was almost like the doctors were blinded to what was wrong. And I had her when she was 31 weeks gestation. And she was born profoundly disabled and very, very, what the doctors would call dysmorphic, so looking very different. So she was born with an abnormal forebrain, and the middle of her face was completely abnormal. Right. So I don't know whether you know, when babies are formed in the womb, the head is formed in basically three parts. So you've got this middle bit down to here,
right,
and then there's two side bits and this bit. And with Jenny, the forebrain and the middle of her face didn't form properly, so she had a huge hole in her face.
Oh, bless her.
So no nasal bone, no upper palate, no jaw, and she was concave in profile. And when she was first born, we didn't know just how profound she'd be, but all through my pregnancy I'd had this huge urge to find out about cleft palates and things. Why, I don't know. And it was almost like I was being prepared for this birth.
Right, so you was actually looking into beforehand.
But they'd not picked up that she got this huge cleft. And then also when I'd...
That's interesting, actually.
Oh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's incredible. When I'd miscarried the middle baby, I remember being in hospital and saying to the doctor, well, thank goodness I'd been spared a handicapped child. So that was old terminology. We'd say a child with disabilities now.
Yeah.
But little did I know that my next child would be profoundly disabled. It was almost like God was preparing me to think about, well, actually, what would I do if I had a disabled child?
Yeah.
You know? These things have happened all through my life. You get little pointers where you think, oh, God, please don't let me face that, or whatever. But anyway, when Jenny was born, it was a big shock because this baby looked so dysmorphic. But all I remember seeing was this child with the most beautiful eyes. And I didn't have any qualms at all about accepting her. I just wanted to see if I could get her fixed.
Yeah.
And she was a real gift. It was a big pressure on us because it was so actually unexpected, even though there'd obviously been signs through the pregnancy. But anyway,
so you obviously when you saw Jenny like that, basically you had. So you, in your mind, you was learning about this beforehand, and you said you saw it, and you thought, oh, wow, this is.
Oh, there's even more to this story. I had my job. I had been a research scientist. I was a research biologist with a particular interest in biochemistry and genetics. It turned out we found out that Jenny had a rare genetic disorder, completely divorced from my job. It was just, people would say coincidental. I say God sent.
That's preparation.
God, yeah, absolutely. And so I understood everything that was going on with her. I'd got the wherewithal to, understand what the doctors were saying. And I'd actually got a doctorate a PhD in microbial genetics.
Oh, wow.
It's bizarre. And people always say, well, did you get that after you had Jenny? And I'll say, well, no, I had it before. Go figure. It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the other interesting thing is that I eventually got involved as a trustee with a charity that supported families worldwide with rare genetic disorders. So individually there might only be one of them or a very tiny number worldwide, but collectively there are lots. And I ended up being the chief executive of that charity. But my husband, we'd met at university. He'd started as an electrical engineer, but he went into computer-aided design and then into database. He was a specialist in databases. So together our expertise was perfect because we could start. He created this database that collected the lifetime effects of these disorders among, to help the families to know what to expect, and the doctors to know what to expect. So our backgrounds were very different in terms of what we'd studied, but coming together, my goodness, weren't we the perfect pair for this perfect child? And Jenny was the missing piece in the jigsaw. absolutely incredible. And I'm convinced God sent. Absolutely convinced.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to obviously with talking more about you, but I had a similar thing with me when I'm from the age of 27. When I started to develop like an anxiety sort of disorder, like panic attacks and things like that, and then sort of went for about a year and a half. Had to come out of work and things like that. So there were things going on, but so I ended up getting my head around it eventually, and figuring out what it was, and getting on top of it, say.
Yeah.
Understanding that you can never get on top of it, and it's all about just acceptance, really. That's what it's all about.
Perfect word. That's what I used to say to the families in my charity.
Yeah.
You've got to learn to accept.
You can't fight it. You can't run away. You just got to accept it.
Absolutely.
From the ground, from the ground up.
Yeah.
And I learnt that from that.
Yeah.
And in literally 2 years, I think it's like 2 years we was going through it, wasn't we? And I don't want to go too much, but with your health and that, wasn't it? And when things got really heavy, it was like a couple of years after, but I was psychologically far with it and secure. Like I couldn't believe it. Like I was like, I had to go through that so I could support my family as best as I could, and so in a strange way, I went through that to that sort of suffering and confusion to actually get on top of it and get a grip of the situation, because what we went through as a family with Natalie's health for like the next 5 years was a lot more intense than that. But it was how I learned to deal with it, and I had to go through the suffering.
Yeah, it's lived experience.
Yeah, so I can, from that aspect of preparation, I can relate to you in that way. That's what. Yeah.
No, I know you see this a lot with lots of different families, and I find that we dealt with literally tens of thousands of families over the years. By the time I finished with the charity, when I retired, we had I think 25,000 families in over 110 countries. We were supporting with all really rare genetic disorders, and hundreds and hundreds of geneticists worldwide volunteering for us. It really grew, but very often it was the families who'd got faith that could survive this huge experience. And it must be so sad when you've got no faith, to support you. People used to say to me, "How'd you cope?" I said, "Well, that's easy. I've got Jesus.
Yeah.
Of course I'm going to cope."
Yeah.
And thank goodness I did. Absolutely, thank goodness I did. I remember going once to Mass. Jenny had been in hospital quite a lot. Well, she spent a lot of time in hospital, and me with her. And she'd nearly died twice. I'd managed to get home because, of course, I got Jonathan as a little boy, and my husband was there as well, of course. But I thought, well, I've got to get home and get some sleep. But they called me back and said, "We think she's going," and she nearly died twice. I remember going to church at the end of that week, and they were saying the responsorial, so the bidding prayers, and they said, "Does anybody else want to say anything?" And I said, "Yes, thank God that you've spared my child." And people said, "But she's profoundly disabled. Why don't you want her to die?" "But she's my daughter.
Yeah.
Of course I don't want her to die."
No.
But I was absolutely exhausted after that. And I got home. Jenny was going to be discharged from hospital the next day. And the phone went. And it was one of the senior sisters at Tadworth, a children's hospital in Tadworth, where Jenny used to go for respite, just to give us a break. And she said, "We've just had a cancellation. Would you like a bit of respite?" For Jenny.
Yeah.
Now, that sister is a great friend of ours, and she's actually the secretary of the SVP in Red Hill.
Right.
Geraldine
Okay.
Sharp. Been a wonderful support to us over the year. That's God working, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Just out of the blue, perfect timing, perfect person. And this keeps happening.
Yeah.
Over the years, it's happened.
It's accepting the suffering, isn't it? And obviously having the faith that God is with you even through the harshest times, and it might get worse.
Yeah.
But you're here, and God is with you.
Yeah.
And with your family as well.
Yeah. And Another episode, it was when Jenny died, so we didn't think she would get to beyond about 6 months. We got her to 21 years, which was absolutely wonderful. It really was, because she brought so much joy into our lives, and had a huge legacy. Obviously she suffered to a great degree, but she was generally a happy child. But anyway, she died. And I remember thinking as we were going into the church, please God, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I'll have to just get my bearings a bit, because it really moves me.
Yeah, take your time. There's no rush.
Suddenly I heard this voice say to me, I am the Holy Spirit, and I am with you. Got the most amazing warmth, and I could manage. I could go into that funeral, and I was okay.
Praise be to God.
Yeah. And sometimes when my scientific brain kicks in, and I'll think, they can't be all this. It's when I have my doubts, and I think back to that, and I think, I know that there's a Jesus and that there's heaven. I know it. I've felt it. I've heard it. I'm not daft.
No, yeah.
I'm not. I don't fantasize about things. This is.
You're you're scientific. You're very
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You measure things, and yeah.
And it was so intense. So my goodness, aren't I lucky?
Wow. So how did you get involved with the SVP?
SVP.
Can you tell us a bit more about that? And
obviously after 30 years
from there, yeah.
Yeah, so after 30 years working for the charity, and Jenny, as I said before, died at the end of 2011. So I carried on working for the charity till I got to retirement age. So that was in 2021 when I was 66. And I thought, I've got to do things, it was time to move on from the charity. Younger people were coming through with great experience, postdocs and so forth like me. And I knew that they would bring in new ideas. And sometimes it's time to go. And I knew that I'd been planning for 4 years. I'm going to go. But I thought, I've got to have something to carry on. So one thing I did was to become a room guide for the National Trust, and that's what I do 2 days a week in Sevenoaks.
Okay.
Yeah, but I thought I need more than that. And I knew Biddy, who was the president of the SVP, Biddy Lovett, and she tried to get me to join when I was still working. And I said, look, Biddy, once I'm retired, I'll probably do it. Because there's such a lovely bunch of people in the SVP. But I was so busy with work. I was working about 60 or 70 hours a week for the charity, and I thought, I can't do that. And the SVP is. But once I'd retired, as soon as possible, I joined the SVP as a full member. I don't know that you know in the SVP that you've got 2 levels of membership. So you've got auxiliary. So you're not DBS checked necessarily, although most of ours are. But that's different from being a full visiting member, where you go to people's homes or whatever.
Oh, okay.
So I became a full member, and within a matter of months, I was the secretary. Because our secretary was going off to live back in France. So I said I would do that. That was 2022, and it's just gone from there. So in August, I became the president, because Biddy had been the president for 10 years since the SVP had come out of abeyance. There'd been a hiatus for a few years when nobody to carry on the SVP. When Father Sean came, he's very, very pro and supportive of the SVP, which we thank God for. He's wonderful. And Biddy and Sandy Barron and some others came together and resurrected the SVP in the parish, and it's just gone from strength to strength. So, it was a no-brainer, really. I had to join this group because they do such wonderful work. They really do. Yeah,
so what sort of, is it very broad, or is it what's the majority of the work?
Well, obviously we're all volunteers.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So if I explain the structure of the SVP, it's an international charity. The SVP in England and Wales, that's our national level. And then you have like central councils. They're sort of diocesan based. So we have one in the Arundel and Brighton diocese.
Right.
And then you have district councils below them. And the one we belong to is North Surrey. So we've joined with P&L in Redhill, Reigate and Merstham, and then with the parish in Oxted and Worlingham, and then there's us. And we're the parish level ones, groups are called SVP conferences. And then you've got your mixture of your full members and your auxiliary members. And what we try to do is to alleviate poverty. Now, when you think of poverty, you immediately think about people being, short of money, lose their jobs or whatever. There are all sorts of forms of poverty. It might be the poverty of loneliness. Yes, it might be people losing their jobs and not having any money, or being asylum seekers or refugees or prisoners, or, there's a whole spectrum of people in types of poverty. And that's what the SVP tries to alleviate. And one of our slogans is action beyond concern. The fact is, everybody says, oh, that's so sad. I really care about that. Yeah, but what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? Are you going to put your money where your mouth is and come and do something? And that's what the SVP does right across the country. I think somewhere between 8,000 and 10,000 members in 1,000 conferences. And the type of work done in each parish or each region very much varies depending on the need of the local populace. So in some very deprived areas of the country, they might have provide accommodation, or they might have soup kitchens, or this sort of thing, or SVP shops, stores and so forth. Here we do a lot of befriending. So we'll often go out to people in their own homes or in care homes. Very often elderly people we're visiting, very often lonely people. But it makes such a difference if you're on your own in your own home and you've got nobody visiting you. That can be a really lonely place.
I've actually learned. It's funny that you said this, because I've learned from the job I do. So I deliver shopping. So I go to a lot of these people's houses, and either they've got no children, or their children live in another country, or they live up north or something like that. And they are, I don't know, I realise that there's a lot of people that are very quietly suffering in society. Like people are not aware of them, and they're housebound, or they just, I don't know, they don't go outside for whatever reason. There's obviously psychological issues there as well, because they obviously, I don't know, but there's a lot of quiet suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's actually quite reassuring, because I am one of them people that, you mentioned, well, I'm not doing anything about it. I'm delivering to these people, but that's part of my job. But I feel that a lot. I go to them, and what happens a lot is that they say that the husband's died, or the wife's died, and I've gone into people's houses, and you can see that the wallpaper isn't old, but the place is a mess, if you know what I mean. So it shows that this has happened recently, and everything's gone downhill. Yeah. I've gone into kitchens, and there's been bags of rubbish everywhere. Yeah. Because they're struggling. They're psychologically struggling with just living and the process of losing their loved one, and obviously they're a bit older as well. So there's that as well. And there's a lot of people suffering quietly in society, and I learned that I wouldn't know that if I wasn't delivering shopping.
Yeah, but you might be the only person they see all week.
Well, I realised that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're actually doing a great service.
There was a man that didn't come out of his house for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like seriously, yeah.
Oh, I believe it. So those of us who are what we call visiting full members, we will go, and auxiliary members can accompany us, but they can't go on their own. Yeah,
because of DBS. Yeah.
And what we do, we do all sorts depending on the person. But for instance, I go to people in local care homes one's very elderly, very, very disabled. Obviously, I'm not revealing confidences here. Everything we do is absolutely confidential.
Yeah, of course.
But, different circumstances, you meet the need. And it may be that you just go in for a chat. Because I'm also an extraordinary minister of the of Holy Communion, as are several of our visiting members, we can take Holy Communion as well.
You take the sacrament.
Yeah,
oh, lovely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
Another set of lovely, lovely people, 3 elderly. I hope they don't mind me saying that, but they're getting on in years. But they live in the same block of flats, and they congregate in one of the flats, and I'll go and sit with them through 10:45 Mass on a Sunday. So I've already been to 9 a.m. Father Sean thought this was a really nice idea that I sit with them. I've taken Holy Communion. When everybody's getting the Blessed Sacrament here from Father Sean, I'm giving them the Blessed Sacrament at the same time in their flat.
Oh, that's good.
It's really powerful.
Yeah.
It's just lovely. And we're just really good friends. The thing is, all these people have got such a tale to tell. It's really, really interesting and exciting. I really look forward to going to meet them all. They've all got something to offer. And I just think if everybody in the parish just did that, even for 1 or 2 people near them, neighbours or whatever, what a huge difference it would make. As the SVP, we can't go into everybody's houses.
No, of course.
We can only know about the people we're told about. Anyway, that's something we do. We'll give lifts to Mass for those people who can come. We'll do shopping for people. Well, you've probably seen that we do a lot of social events, because a lot of what people need is to come out and meet other people here in this room in the Cannon Row Hall. Every first Monday we have a knitting club, so we have about 20 ladies who come and knit, and that helps us raise funds for the SVP work or for mums with babies, or there's all sorts of things that their knitted goods can be used for. On the second Monday of every month, we introduce something called the Friendly Faces Cafe, so people can come in, who are lonely or who just want company. It's just a drop in, and there'll be more cake. As I said before, there's always cake at SVP events, so we're all really good at cake.
Yeah.
And they just come and have a chat, play some board games, see people they've not seen for ages, So that was just a couple of hours. On the third Monday of the month, the SVP put on our film club. Last week we had a film about C.S. Lewis and his conversion from, I think he was an atheist, all the way through to becoming Christian. And that was really powerful. And we had absolutely maximum numbers in here. It was excellent. But we have a different theme each month, different film. And cake again, tea, coffee. Another thing we've done recently was to put on a mass for the sick and housebound, followed by afternoon tea. So people were coming from local care homes who never get out, but they came in here in their wheelchairs and on their frames, and sat in here and had a jolly good natter, with lovely sandwiches and cakes and crisps and tea and coffee, and it was buzzing in here. Because people were seeing people they'd not seen for ages. And sometimes people can't get out of their homes. And what Biddy, the former president, introduced, she'd just use, I think, either her tablet or her mobile phone, and she'd get one of the elderly people who, couldn't get out of their care home or out of their own home to record a message for a friend they'd not seen for ages. And then she'd go to the friend's house and they'd see their friend talking to them, and then they could record a message and she'd go back.
Yeah.
So, using technology.
So it's the little things like that you say that
makes a huge difference. Makes a huge difference. So those are the sort of things we do on the visiting line. But we also get a lot of referrals from people like people at the food bank, Caterham Food Bank, from Tandridge CA Citizens Advice. There might be people who've come into the local area who've escaped from domestic abuse, or who are asylum seekers or refugees or prisoners on release, or people who've lost their jobs or whatever. And they need practical support. So in the last couple of months, we've provided a double, these trundle beds, a single bed with a bed underneath. We got one of those. We've bought mattresses for people that they've needed. Your kitchen white goods and things like that. So often we're providing things, practical things that people really need, like furniture and so forth, or shopping vouchers, or you
fund that from the ground up.
Well, yeah. So when people in the parish support our events, like our knitwear and cake sale we had the other week, we raised £850 in one morning after the 2 masses, because people were saying, I don't want a cake, have 20 quid. I do want that, They were buying some of the knitted goods. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
And that's bringing the parish together as well. But we can use that money, and we use it well. So the trundle bed I was telling you about, that we got from Furnace Store, which is a great charity in Merstham, where people donate their furniture, and then they sell it to people who go in who perhaps don't have very much money. Or if you're a charity signed up to them, for some of the goods you can get 50% off. So for £52.50, I got a trundle bed with 2 mattresses and a chest of drawers and 2 sets of bedding, duvet cover, pillow, pillowcase and sheet, one for a boy and one for a girl for this particular family, for £52.50. Now, it's just little bits of money that make a big difference. The other thing that we've been doing recently, one of our projects, we've worked with other conferences in our district council, and we've been supporting prisoners coming out of, last year it was HMP Coldingley and Woking. This year it'll be HMP Highdown, probably. And we're providing brand new rucksacks full of toiletries, fresh socks, underwear, Greg's vouchers, just things that they would need when they come out of prison with absolutely no family support or friend support. So it's just so they can clean the teeth and have a wash and keep themselves clean, just until they get themselves to some, more permanent level of support.
So I think it's for the likes of myself and a lot of people probably listening, and a lot of people that are listening as well, the opposite. I think we take advantage of the family you have around us, because I think we forget there's a lot of people that don't have that.
Absolutely.
And we don't ever think, how would they, if they haven't got the family, if they haven't got that type of resource to, do that, how would they then do it? And you don't really think about it. But like I say, when I was delivering to, them people, that's when I've started I was like, wow, this is every time I visit now, everything's still the same. And and chatting away, I've only got a limited time there, so I have to be quick and stuff. But it just especially that man that was in he was up in the high rise, and he hasn't been out for 8 years. And people have accidents and stuff, don't they? They have injuries.
Yeah.
And if they haven't got the family, because in your mind you think, oh, well, you've got any children, or you got any cousins or anything, or brothers and sisters, and I wouldn't obviously say that to them, but obviously not.
No.
And you don't think of it though, because I'm quite blessed to have a family.
Absolutely, and you think in areas like this. I mean, it's quite affluent, isn't it, Surrey? But the amount of poverty and people in need, people facing difficult challenges, but it's all under the surface, And also people want to maintain their dignity. They don't want to admit that they're struggling.
Well, I'm guilty of that, to be honest. Yeah.
Well, this is how people are, you see. But that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to maintain people's dignity and have respect for them, no matter what their challenges, what their needs. Everybody in God's eyes is equal, and they should be treated as equals. And that's what we're trying to do, to give them a helping hand without them making them feel singled out. With the prisoners, I mean, people might say, well, they've done wrong, and why should you help them? Everybody makes mistakes. They're but for the grace of God. And if you're not helped when you're coming out of prison, say, and you're trying to get on a better footing, you're bound to fail if nobody helps you. It's the same you've probably seen in church. We've been doing collecting toys for Operation Elf.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the prisoners' advice, and I can't remember the rest of the acronym, the meaning, but it's PACT. And basically it's a Catholic charity that helps prisoners and their families. So we've been liaising with the family support officer over at Coldingley and now at Highdown. And we've been collecting for Operation Elf, and this is where you ask parishioners if they would provide presents for children of prisoners, so that I've collected probably about 50, 60 presents so far. We'll take them to the prison quite soon, and then the family support officer there will show them to the prisoners, and they'll be able to choose a present for their children, or presents for their children, and wrap them themselves. And then they'll have a family day in December where Daddy gives a present to their child.
Yeah.
The child doesn't know that Daddy wasn't able to buy this. They don't need to know that. That's trying to maintain family integrity.
Yeah.
You've got to keep people's respect up. The feelings of respect.
That will help the prisoners as well.
Totally. That we think they're worth investing time, money. Now, they might go wrong. Of course they do. I'm not naive enough to think that nobody ever, sort of doesn't go back to prison. We know probably about 50% of prisoners end up going back inside fairly quickly. But if you don't give them a bit of a helping hand, it could be 100%, couldn't it? So that's another thing we do. Also, we're helping asylum seekers and refugees. So in January we'll be doing a collection for Gatwick detainees. So that's young men who are in the detention centre down at Gatwick who need clothes. So we do that once a year, and we'll just take the clothes down to the office for Gatwick detainees working group, and then they will distribute the clothes to the young men. We've also recently, the SVP has a caravan down at Bognor Regis, so we were able to pay for an asylum family, absolutely delightful family, really lovely, to have a week's break by the seaside. They'd not done that for years. The hell they'd been through to get here. And it was just lovely to see the photographs of them just being family, and the kids running around at the seaside.
So it's that, like you said, that stuck in my mind now, family integrity. That's, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, like you say, going back as well to the prisoner as well, they might have whatever the reason why they're in there, but they're aiming towards that family integrity, and that's something more important than them, say. And it's
Absolutely
and
right. And
you're supporting that. That's
absolutely right. I mean, the children, it's not their fault that Daddy made a mistake.
No.
Is it?
No.
They shouldn't be suffering because of Daddy. And it's helping Daddy maintain that relationship with the children, which is so important. So those are some of the things we do. I think it's really important that people realise that we don't just... There's this perception of the SVP that we just help elderly Catholic people. Not true. We are here for anybody of
all souls,
faiths,
all souls,
every soul.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what ethnicity you are, whether you're gay, straight, whatever, whatever your religion or non is. It doesn't matter. Whether you're the cleverest person on the planet or a person with learning disabilities. We're there for everybody. Yes, we do it because we're trying to follow the path of Christ. We're trying to live out in our daily lives what Christ would have done. And in fact, being an SVP member really helps with your own spiritual formation. It really makes you think about, well, what should I be doing to be like Jesus? Which might make me sound a bit godly, and I don't mean to be coming over like that.
Yeah, I know.
But
yeah.
it's important, that you try and live the best possible life you can. And
God is what good is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the bottom line, isn't it? Really,
Totally.
yeah.
And that's, that is the bottom line of the SVP. Everything we do is from our Catholic Christian faith and trying to follow the word of God. So it's a wonderful organisation to be part of. I've made some really good friends, in retirement because of this. What I'd like to do as new president, though, is to spread our wings. The SVPs are always sort of tended to hide its light under a bushel, really, in that it's being discreet. Obviously, you need to be, and you've not to reveal confidences and so forth. But if we don't get the word out there beyond the parish walls, how are people going to know about us? How are we going to fundraise for a start? I know parishioners are very good, but, with even more money, we could do more things. But most importantly, how are we going to find those potential beneficiaries, those lonely people, those poor people, if people don't know about us?
No, I don't know.
So what we're doing, we do things like once a year a quiz night. I don't know if you've been to that yet, but it's really good fun. No. I'm the quiz master.
Okay.
My husband writes the questions, and we've done about 3 now. And there's usually about 90 people in the Centenary Hall, and we have either a fish and chips supper or a ploughman's or whatever. Yeah. It's a really good evening. And often people come in from other parishes or the local district. But we're doing something a little bit different as well this coming year. So one of our relative new parishioners is a lovely man from Argentina. He's called Cruz Jurado, and he's a professional artist. And Cruz spoke to Sandy, who was our previous treasurer, who's also from Argentina, and said, I'd really like to put on an art exhibition sale in support of the SVP. And can we do it at church? And I thought, that'd be different.
Yeah.
And this thing's growing like topsy because he's also got involved now a lady artist from Chile, and then Marcela, one of our members who's from Mexico. She's getting a friend from Mexico who's a professional artist to send some of his works across. So next May sometime, probably May the 9th, but that's not set in stone yet, we're going to have an art exhibition sale in the Centenary Hall. But we're going to try and reach out way beyond the parish, because this, getting 3 Latin American artists together, has never been done before, certainly to our knowledge. So it'll be a lovely thing for people in the parish and beyond to come and see, to have a cup of tea, cake. The bar will be open. All good events have a bar. But some of the paintings, which are quite expensive, they'll be for sale. And certainly for the Chilean artist and the Argentinian Cruz, they've offered 50% of the takings to come to the SVP, which is a lot of money potentially to help families. So that's a little bit different, and we'll be doing a lot of advertising, going out on socials. So if you know any famous art influencers, anybody, we could really do with you tipping them off and seeing if they'll support us. So we're trying to think of new creative ways of reaching out without undermining that, doing things quietly to help families.
Yeah. Well, no, this is one of the reasons why I've sort of set up this platform as well, because when I came back to the faith about just over 4 years ago, when I was looking through obviously the history, and I was looking through what I knew, because both my nans and my granddad on my dad's side were Catholics and are very heavily in the doing a lot of work in the church and stuff, and their friends, their nuns and stuff like that. And what I learned in the Catholic faith, it's probably in different Christians as well, but this is what I knew, is the charity is quiet, and they don't really talk about it, they just do it. And from on a local level, that's how people sort of. But now we've got this technology. There's nothing wrong with talking about it, and this is what you're doing, and this is what you have been doing, and it's not like and assess the file. There you go, a round of applause. No, it's
No,
nothing like
not
that at
doing
all.
that.
It's just trying to expand.
Absolutely, trying to find new members,
Yeah.
trying to get funding, but as I said before, most importantly, trying to find those hidden people out there who need our help. You know, if people don't know about us, they won't know to help potential beneficiaries, and that's why we want to get the word out. You know,
Yeah.
so we're doing this sort of thing. We're hoping to network a lot more with all the wonderful organisations that are in this parish. It's such a vibrant parish.
It's very blessed to be here.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You know, I'd really like some of the young people from our new youth club to come and help us sometimes. Maybe help us with doing online content, you know, to put on Facebook or whatever, or Twitter or whatever.
Yeah.
Or come in helping us at the quiz night just to hand food out or collect answer sheets. You know, and I think it's really important that as a parish, as a faith, as the SVP, we introduce young people from quite an early age, well, very early age, to all that, get them into the way of thinking about volunteering and sort of planting the SVP and Catholic seed in their brains.
The action. Yeah.
So they realise from a young age there's a lot more to life than, you know, being online all the time or doing things, you know, that life isn't all about material possessions, that you should be helping other people. And there's so much more to life than the secular version that's put out in the media.
No, definitely.
So misleading.
Definitely. And yeah, then that's another reason why it's to show awareness as well of like you say, people that are at home and they don't leave their house and they haven't got families, and I wasn't really fully aware. I was wrapped in, you know, my own life, and you don't really, there's so many, the reality is so many people that are quietly suffering.
Yeah, and often worse, you know, you might think, oh gosh, this is a hard challenge God's given me, but there's always somebody worse off than you. Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
The other thing we're trying to do to get young people aware of Jesus, really, and the church and so forth. We, as the SVP, we do tours of the church for young kiddies in the primary schools locally. So we've got, we had some reception children coming round from St. Francis. Last year we had some children from Hillcroft, which is not a Catholic school, and they're coming again in December, so year ones. So what are they, about 6?
Yeah,
And there's about 60 of them coming, can you imagine? But we split them and we take them round in twos with obviously teachers and that. But it's lovely because they'll ask questions and their minds are so open then, you know, and they really enjoy their tours. And maybe some might be interested in becoming Catholic, but it's making them aware of Christianity, of Jesus, of God. And I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, of course not. No, and the thing is as well, I realised as well when I was my own sort of, I was wrong, but I was delivering to these people, and I had in my mind like, oh, the nurses they're doing their thing, but I've gone in there with the nurses before, and they're washing up, but the bed that the people are sleeping in are covered in, I don't know, just a mess, you know, from where they're going to the toilet and things like that, and they're not cleaning everything, you know, there's not, they're just in there, and to be honest with you, it's not always their fault. They literally got a timer and they've got to go in and they just do their little bit and they're out. And then a lot of people think, oh, we have nurses, you're fine, and it's not actually the case. There's a lot more that people need, and yeah, that's so I find it so interesting, because I always thought to myself, there must be something like these people, like there must be something that, like some sort of organisation or something that helps these people.
Well,
it was at the parish the whole time.
we don't go in and clean people up.
No, I know. Yeah.
Although, you know, quite honestly, the amount of cleaning up had to do with Jenny, because she was like a baby all her life, just my size. That was the only difference.
Yeah.
So I had to be hoisted and goodness knows what, and tube fed and ileostomy bag and goodness knows what. It was interesting. But it's just going in and seeing the person beyond the pooey sheets, wet sheets, and
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
they're
literally living in suffering. Yeah, literally every day.
Yeah,
that's what I was basically getting at. Yeah, and
absolutely.
you think the nurses are sorted, but they're doing their job. They ain't got time for it.
It's some have, obviously.
Yeah,
but it's a jolly hard job.
Yeah,
it really is. Yeah, we were very lucky with many of the nurses that we had, and even when the morning that Jenny died, she died in her sleep, and she was in respite. We were actually on holiday, but the nurse who was with her was Catholic and knew exactly what to do, and managed to get the priest in from the local church. She was in a different part of the area, not in the Caterham area, and so there was a priest quickly with Jenny. Oh, thank God that happened. It was, really brought me peace. But there are some fantastic nurses out there and doctors who do so much. We're very blessed.
We are very, yeah. Mm. All right, Beverly, we're going to bring this to a finish now.
Okay.
And if we can do the Lord's Prayer, because the last couple of episodes I've just been flying through, haven't we? But yeah, I think we should do that now. So,
okay.
And the Father,
Holy Spirit.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, the Lord be with you. Let us acknowledge our unworthiness.